Welcome to SolidCAM Professor. I'm Sydney, your SolidCAM Professor, with one of many videos available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In this recording, we'll demonstrate the use of turning in SolidCAM on this flange as shown over here. You'll note that we have an envelope around the actual part itself to help us create the geometries as well as the stock around the part. Also note that in our fixtures we have the clamps defined at the very top of the stock itself as shown over here using these options which were put in automatically by SolidCAM itself as default. In our first operation we'll be doing a face turning on this face over here to clear away the excess material on the face of the part. If we were to open up our operation, you can see the geometry being turned on the solid itself. Showing the geometry, you'll see that actually this face over here was chosen. This face over here was chosen for the geometry. And if I were to go into modify geometry, you'll see that it was automatically extended to the stock at the beginning and all the way towards the middle of it at the end. The tool that we will be using will be an external rough tool as shown over here, and it can also be shown if I were to go into my technology. You'll note that the working area is around the stock itself, and we'll be working in one direction as well as doing a rough cut on the part. The rough type will be of stairs as opposed to smooth, and the step over will be every 1 millimeter. We'll be having an offset of 0.1 millimeters from the surface and a retreat distance of 0.2 millimeters as well. If we were to take a look at the simulation, and we use the turning simulation to show this, you'll see that the tool will come down on the face itself, retract, and then go back down, stepping in every 1 millimeter until it gets towards the very end of the part itself, as shown over here. In our next operation, we'll be working on the outside of this area over here. And if I were to go into the operation, you'll note that we'll be using the option of turning. Our geometry in this particular case, again taken from our solid, is from this surface up until this surface, including this surface, where the modified geometry is just extended at the beginning to the stock itself. The tool that I will be using will again be a external roughing tool as shown over here, and in my technology you'll note that the mode will be the external mode as shown over here. We'll be using rough, and you can see the rough tab appears over here. If I were to go into the rough tab, you'll see the roughing type will be again stairs as opposed to ramping or smooth, and again you can see our offset as shown over here. If we go into our semi-finished finish, you'll note that we'll be doing a finish with this particular tool as well. Running our simulation, again using the turning method for the simulation, you'll note when I use the turning method, first of all it automatically updates what was machined already up until that point. I can also move it to the middle just by clicking on my mouse and dragging. And if I was to go one step at a time, you can see it's going down with the stairs fashion along the part itself, clearing off the part, and then doing a finish cut at the very end of the geometry as well. In our third operation, we'll be doing a drilling operation through the middle of the flange itself. If I were to open up the operation, you can see that there's no geometry to be chosen because it automatically goes through the middle of the part. In my tool area, we'll have a 23 millimeter flat drill, and in my technology, we have our start position and end position. Start position being from this face itself, and the end position being from the back of the part. You'll note that the drill cycle in this particular case will be a regular drilling operation. Taking a look at the simulation, you'll note again that the tool comes down, drills right into the part, and then back out. In our next set of operations, we'll be working on the internal hole as shown over here. So in our operation that follows, you'll see that we're using the turning technology. Again, the geometry is on the solid, going from this surface up until this surface over there. The tool will be an internal roughing tool as shown on our screen over here. And if I go into my technology, you'll see that we chose the option of long internal. Plus, we'll be doing a rough cut and leaving the amount of excess material as needed. We will not be doing a finish in this operation. Instead, we'll be doing that in a separate operation for finishing. If I run my simulation, you'll see that the tool itself will go down, clear up whatever it can on the inside, and also note that it did not go into this area over here. And that's because if we go back into our operation and look at strategies, you'll see that we have marked off as non-descending motions, where it will not go into those type of areas. Now in my next operation, again we'll be working on the internal part of the flange, but this time we'll be working on the indented area where we were not able to machine before. If we were to open up the operation, you'll see that the geometry in this particular case is from this area over here, from this chamfer up until this area over here, that surface over there. And if we take a look at our tool, we'll be using an internal grooving tool as shown over here. And if we go into our technology, you'll note again we'll be using the roughing operation with a long internal mode. And this time in strategies, we have marked as descending motions, making sure that it goes into that area as well. Running my simulation, you'll see that the tool this time goes in, working inside the groove itself. In our next operation, we'll continue on the same geometry. However, this time I'll be using another internal groove as shown over here, but this one will be for the finish cut. This time I'll be using the exact same tool as I used last time. However, if I go into my technology, I'll be using the option of finish only. But when I use finish only, you do not see the roughing tab over here. You only see the semi-finish finish option, and we'll be using iso turning method. Taking a quick look at the simulation, you'll see that the tool this time goes all the way in and works exactly one finish cut on the part itself. Now, the next operation will just be doing a finish cut on what we did the roughing before on this area over here. Opening up the operation, you'll see that we'll be using the, in my technology, of long internal, but we'll also be using finish only as well. Again, if I ran my simulation, you'll see that the tool will go exactly on that area, doing a finish cut inside that flange. Now, for my last operation, I like to put a thread on this surface over here. So if I go into my last operation, you'll note I'll be using the technology of threading. The geometry in this particular case is this line over here, this edge over here, and my tool will be an internal thread tool as shown over here to do the threading inside the tool. In my technology, you'll see I'll be working on long internal, and in my data, you'll note I've entered the option of threads per inch, and my major diameter as well. If I were to run my simulation, you'll see that the tool goes down, cuts across, and starts creating a thread on that surface itself, giving for a threaded finish that we needed on that surface. For more videos on SolidCAM Professor, please go to our website www.solidcam.com and look for the tab called SolidCAM Professor. Thank you for joining us on SolidCAM Professor. Take care and have a nice day.